Welcome back to another episode of Dub and Trey. Glad to have you guys back. We want to get right into it and talk about the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. We want to definitely get into some real good information about why people should utilize their Second Amendment rights, and some good reasons why you shouldn't. So let's definitely get into it. Gun ownership. For me, one of the reasons that I think people should utilize their Second Amendment rights is to protect the household and also to get into other things as far as understanding what the laws are in your state and what that looks like. So, me being somebody who is a gun owner, I'm definitely into those type of things. What about you? How you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm definitely all about the Second Amendment, man. I think everybody should exercise their right to own a gun. And like you were saying, a lot of people own guns for different reasons. Self defense is probably the first one. And then you can't forget about people who own guns for sport. You know, some people hunt. You also got
Hunt.
competition shooting, right? That's a real thing that people get into. And then it's cool to just enjoy shooting guns. Like it's fun. It really is fun to shoot guns, and it's
It really
cool
is fun.
to
Right.
just own guns because you like guns. There's nothing weird or crazy about people if they like guns. It's like people who like cars and people who like shoes and people who have their vices of things they enjoy. People can enjoy guns, right?
In a safe way,
In a
in
safe
a
way,
safe
right?
manner, right?
Obviously, right? And then some people are just collectors. Some people just own a lot of guns because they collect guns. Also, similar to how people collect tennis shoes or any other
Right.
comic books or whatever you're into, right? It's cool to just, if that's your
Becomes a
thing,
hobby,
right? If
right?
that's your thing, it's cool. Now, on that topic of why you probably should own a gun in those categories, there's a bunch of reasons why you probably shouldn't own a gun. But before we jump into the reasons that we got laid out of why you probably shouldn't own a gun, we'll talk about specifically, like me and you was talking, Trey, about how some people should consider owning guns if they have never thought about it.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think it's important for people who have never shot a gun before, who don't really know too much about handguns specifically. I think it's really important for those folks to get educated, go to a gun range in your local area, and really understand what it is about. I know a lot of, especially females, that are very afraid of getting involved and even thinking about researching guns and don't even want to touch a gun. So I just say that it's definitely something that you want to research, and it's going to give you a sense of security. Also, my young men and young women, so many times we can be out in the street and we can actually have a situation where someone gives you a gun or someone offers to give you a gun. And then next thing you know, you get pulled over or you're going through an airport. How many times we see people getting pulled over or going through an airport and bad situations happen. They have a gun that's unregistered. Next thing you know, you're doing some time for something that you could have actually purchased legally. I definitely want people out there to understand that you can go and purchase a gun legally. You just have to have some patience. You have to do some reading, and you have to follow the procedures, and you can have a handgun
Mm-hmm.
in a responsible way, rather than getting a handgun from your best friend and you don't know where that gun has been, you don't know what that gun has done, and you're in a situation where you got to do some time for something
Right.
that's not even worth it when you could have owned a handgun legally. Every state has their different rules and regulations, but you should definitely take heed and get the information if you really want to protect your household and you really want to get it, and you really into guns like Dub spoke about, as far as collecting, and it's a hobby and doing it for sport. And then you really want to get into those things, because I think it's a lot of people that's doing time out here that got handgun charges when they could have owned something legally. And understanding those fundamentals of what you need to legally purchase a handgun, because you can do it.
And what you guys got to consider is even if you illegally own a weapon, but you protect yourself in a legal manner. Say you have a gun that's not registered, you have an illegal purchase gun in your home. Someone breaks into your home, wants to do harm to you, your family, whatever. You shoot that person. Well within your right to do. But the problem is that you shot them with a illegal gun. You're not going to get in trouble for defending your home. You're going to get in trouble for defending your home with an illegal weapon, which
Right.
changes the story if you have a permit and your gun is purchased and licensed legally. It's a completely different scenario. Same thing can happen, two different scenarios based on paperwork.
Definitely get educated, man, and take some training and understand what this licensing is all about.
Mm-hmm.
For the ladies, I'm telling you out there, go to a gun range. You single ladies out there raising these kids, doing the best you can do. If you feeling like you need a little bit more protection because you may be in a rough neighborhood, or you just may feel like you're uncomfortable about your environment, having that training, learning how to use a handgun will make you feel better.
Right.
If need be, you can protect your home. My big thing about people is, let's not be reactive. Let's be proactive.
That's right.
It's too late. It's too late after the fact, after you had the tragedy has happened. So let's be proactive and let's really get some education about, learning how to own a handgun or a rifle or whatever it is that you think you may be interested in, because there are a lot of different regulations out there for each state. So that's my big thing, Doug.
And there are states that, depending on where you are listening to this, there are states that don't even require you to have a permit if you're a resident of the state. I want to say there's like 13 states that don't require you to have a permit to carry a gun in that particular state. And in addition to that, there are states that recognize gun permits from other states. So, for example, say you get your gun permit in Maryland and you travel to, I want to say like Oklahoma or Arkansas or something like that. So states like that, they recognize your gun permit in Maryland, so that if you get pulled over in those states, you're good because you have a gun permit from a recognized state. But again, like Trey said, you have to do your research, do your reading, know your local laws, before you travel anywhere to state to state. I know in the DMV, it feels like DC, Maryland, and Virginia are interconnected, but actually those are three separate territories that are governed by three separate laws when it comes to gun ownership. So just because you're in the DMV, it doesn't mean you can roll with your gun from Virginia to Maryland to DC, back to Maryland and Virginia, and not understand you're crossing different state lines that may have different gun laws when it comes to transporting your gun, and what you can and can't do with having your weapon on you.
Right.
I guess from there, we'll go to telling the folks how to go about owning a gun, right? So if you've never owned a gun, there are some things you have to do to get your permit.
Definitely. First thing you want to do, people, go to your state police licensing portal. And for Maryland, I'm just going to speak for Maryland, but if it's Virginia, if it's DC, of course, there's a different thing, but I'm assuming it's all pretty similar. For the state of Maryland, you want to Google Maryland State Police Licensing Portal, or you can go to .mdsp.maryland.gov. MSPD Bridge client sign in. So, but if you just Google Maryland State Police Licensing Portal, it'll come up. Click on there, create an account. And what you want to fill out is you want to fill out the 77R and handgun permit application, which is available on the website right there. You fill out a portion of that and you're going to start the process. And that's the first step to getting your handgun permit. Now, it's not a one-stop shop. The second step was to create another account, emdsp.mdsp.org. And what this section is going to actually help you register for your training. It's going to give you information about your fingerprints. There's another website that you can go where it's going to give you a listing of all the private companies who can get you your fingerprints, because you're going to need that fingerprints to go put back onto that 77R handgun permit. You're going to need a specific code. So once you get that specific code, You put that on there as well. You fill that out, submit it, and then once you get your handgun permit in the mail, they'll send it to you in the mail. It varies. It can take from a few months to 6 months. They'll do a background check on you, of course. Once you get that handgun permit in, you'll go to a gun dealer, and they'll run the same check to make sure those things that you just did 3 or 4 months ago, to make sure your record is still correct. They're going to give you the short version of the 77R. The main thing is that, to save you some time, go and get fingerprinted, and then also register for the training, which is also in that website that I gave you. Now, if you're a veteran, you don't have to do the training, which speeds the process up. So you have to fill out the 77R, you have to register for training, and you have to get your fingerprints done. All this information is found on the Maryland State Police License Portal. For people who have never shot handguns before or weapons at all, you can definitely go to any gun range and people will help. They'll give you the same information. If you're not really sure about how to go about doing it, maybe you log on your own and you're a little confused, definitely go to the gun range, talk to some people there. They'll actually help you fill it out in the actual physical form instead of doing it online, or they may have a setup where you can do it online there. So this process isn't something that's just a specific process for a specific state. Everywhere you go, any gun range, all of them will help you get and start your process on getting your handgun permit.
With that, I'm going to add a few more things to that, to the legal process. I would say, along with getting your permit, don't just go out and buy a gun. Trey had already alluded to this. Go to the range. When you talk to them about the permit process, also talk to them about handguns. They can answer all the questions you have about guns. What gun does this? What gun kicks back the most? What gun is hard to aim? The size, there's different size and variations of guns. Just learn all those things. And it's okay to get your permit and not even buy a gun. You can just register to have the permit and not ever own a gun. But
take your time. Your time.
Right. Go ahead and get the permit. Even if you ever thought about owning a gun, go ahead and just get the permit. All it is some paperwork. And I don't know, Maryland has a fee, right? Isn't there a fee that, at least for Maryland, you got to pay for the application fee? I know some states there's a fee, and it varies by state how much that fee is, but it's not a lot of money. I'm talking, I want to say it's maybe $50, something like that. But it's not a lot of money. So the things I was going to add for you guys, when you find out the gun you want, after you've practiced with this gun at the range more than one time, and practice with several different guns, right? Don't just shoot the gun that a friend of yours told you they had, or because somebody else liked it, so you like it. Guns are very personal. They all feel different. The more of them you shoot, the more you find out what you like and what is comfortable in your hand. Mm-hmm. After you figure out the gun you want, you need to figure out what safe you want. So you need to buy a quality gun safe. Before you buy your gun, buy your safe. It is ass backwards to buy your gun and then go buy a safe, because safes aren't cheap. Good quality gun safes aren't cheap.
That's right.
And you definitely don't want one that takes a key and you just unlock it with a damn key that a 10-year-old can open. You want a good quality gun safe. They aren't cheap. Buy your gun safe, then go buy your gun, so that the day you bring it home, you're already securing it in a responsible manner.
Yep. And that application fee, Doug, from what I just researched, is $50.
Okay. There you go.
That's not bad, but definitely, like you said, I agree 100%. That is definitely get you a good safe. You probably would need to try about 3 or 4 different handguns, because you want to be able to be comfortable with it before you even decide to make a purchase. But you got to go to the gun range, and believe it or not, ladies, it's actually fun. It is a fun experience to go to the gun range. Once you break that fear of shooting a gun the first time, I promise you, you will love it. It will definitely be a fun experience. One of the things that I experienced, I think it was in Miami, there was a gun range where they made it kind of like a club type restaurant feel. I think it was Lock and Load, Miami Lock and Loaded, but it was a
Okay.
great experience. They were able to cater to certain things where you would, and then they would give you a training before you went out there and you would get to shoot all these different guns. They had a menu of guns. It was a great experience. But ladies, definitely don't be afraid to get out there, practice shooting the gun and learn the fundamentals and take the training that you need to take. You know, my big thing is that we don't even exercise the rights that we have.
That's right.
But yet we say we want other things. So, I definitely think it's a perfect way to exercise your right. Whether you want to collect guns, they have all kinds of, you can design guns. I've seen so many amazing, cool design type guns that you can create on your own and make the weapon unique to yourself. Whether it's merging together two types of models, taking a handgun and turning it into a machine gun, different type of things that are really, really, really cool. So,
and as I stated before, I was talking about reasons to not own a weapon, right? So
yeah,
you guys know now the basis of who most legal gun owners are. We gave you the lowdown on how to go about getting it. Now we're going to talk about reasons why you probably don't want to own a gun. For me, the number one reason is you don't want to own a gun just because someone told you to. Whether you're talking to your friends or you're listening to this podcast, right? You don't want to go like, oh man, Dub and Trey or whomever, they told me I need to have a gun, so man, I'm gonna go buy a gun. Nah, that's not the right reason to go buy a gun. You own a gun because you want to own a gun, not because no one's telling you should own a gun. So if you don't want a gun, if you don't want to exercise your Second Amendment right to own a gun, that is well within your right. Just like people who choose to not vote, they have their right to vote. Some people don't exercise that right. It's cool to not exercise your right to own a gun. There's nothing wrong with that. Second reason, if you suffer from mental illness or you have severe anger issues, you really have to be honest with yourself about this.
Right.
If you have a mental illness that could possibly cause self-harm or harm to others, or you have anger issues, you probably don't want to own a gun. You don't want to have access to anything that can heighten any type of violent situation that you sort of create already on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Next reason you don't want to have a gun in your household is if you have domestic violence issues in your house. If you live in a house and there's a bunch of arguing, hands put on each other, whatever, you don't want to have a gun in your house. Again, it's the possibility to heighten something at the wrong time with the weapon in the home, right?
That's right.
So if you're in a domestic violence situation in your home, you don't want to have a gun in your home. If you're a suicidal thought person, if you ever thought about committing suicide, or you have a family member who has thought about committing suicide, you don't want to have a gun in your home.
And that's anybody in the house that does
anybody,
talking about.
That's
anybody
right,
that has these things going on in your house, you should take heed to that.
That's right. Whether it's you, family member, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the last reason I have, at least, and this is for my single people out there who live on their own. I believe the assumption is that because you live on your own, you don't have to secure your gun because no one else can get to it. But the fact is, you need more security for your weapon because people break into houses and steal guns.
Right.
So if you live alone, depending on where you live at, someone breaks into your house, they're going to steal your gun. But they can't steal it if you have it in a quality safe. So even if you live alone and you don't have kids in your house, you don't have family members in your house, you still need a quality safe and secure your weapon at the minimum so that if someone breaks into your house, they can't steal your gun. Because you don't want folks running around with your gun committing crimes. That's just a bad feeling when all you had to do was put money into a safe and all they would have stolen was a safe that they couldn't get into. Where hopefully you're keeping that ammo, your ammunition in a separate location than you're keeping your gun. Right?
Right. Your gun is not loaded.
That's right.
I definitely think those are great points of why you shouldn't own a gun. You shouldn't have a gun. No, like you said, if you can't secure it the proper way, and those things, those elements that you went over. So Great points. I definitely. I was thinking though. I was thinking about what you had said, and I was thinking about so many times you hear about accidents happen where kids are playing in the backyard, or you're teaching your young adults how to shoot weapons in the backyard.
Right.
And I just want people to know, you know, it's no reason for that when you got gun ranges everywhere. It's a gun range everywhere. You may not know they're there, but if you put gun range in your Google Maps or whatever you're using to navigate, it's gun ranges everywhere. If they're of age and you really want to teach them how to shoot a gun, take them to the gun range so it can be done safely. You'll have the proper goggles. And these are things that you also need to purchase with your safe. Eye protection, ear protection. These are things that you need to have whenever you're utilizing the weapon. You know, of course, we don't want to. We hope no one has to use anything for emergencies.
That's right.
For life threatening issues, but for fun and for hobby and for hunting and these type of things, there's a certain level of safety that you need to adhere to.
Right. You have to.
And that's and yeah, you can't never pointing the gun at anyone is a major thing. You know, you should never point your gun at anyone. You should never leave your gun unsupervised. You should never have your gun loaded with the safety off. These are rules that apply to everybody.
That's right. And I'll even go on further. Even if you know you've taken the ammunition out of your gun, treat the gun as if it is loaded.
Yep. Always treat it as if it's loaded. Yep.
That's right. You never treat your gun as if it is not loaded, because that's when mistakes happen. That's when you don't realize that your gun has chambered around. So what that means is that it is loaded around, that is ready to be shot when you pull the trigger. It chambers around. You don't know if that's happened, because a round can get chambered and you can pull the magazine out of the gun, and that round is still waiting to go. But if you are not thinking about treating the gun as if it's loaded, you're going to play around and shoot yourself or shoot somebody, or who knows, right? So always double check, make sure your gun is not loaded. And even when it isn't, treat it like it is. Never point it at anyone, like Trey already said. Like, these things are super, super vital, because it builds habits. Build the habit of not pointing your gun, not playing with it like that. Build these habits, because you don't want to be the person to make this mistake where you accidentally shoot your own child because you're playing with your gun, or you shoot your best friend, or you shoot your spouse or your cousin or your boy or your girlfriend, whatever it is, man.
And believe me, these things have happened.
Yes.
Right. And these things have actually happened. If you do your research, these accidents are happening all the time. Brothers accidentally shooting brothers, parents accidentally shooting kids, so on and so forth, because they're not taking heed to the safety of a weapon.
That's right.
So we definitely want to stress, that you utilize your Second Amendment, but we definitely want to stress that you do it in a safe way.
Definitely a safe way.
So
I got a few tips that I wanted to talk about, and I know Trey's going to probably have a few as well. So the first thing I want to tell you guys, that when you own a gun, you can add your gun to your home insurance, right, as personal property. So when you get your weapon, add your weapon to your rental insurance or your home insurance, whatever insurance you got for your home or your rental space that covers your personal property. Add your gun to that policy, because it counts as a a personal effect, or whatever it's called, right? Like your jewelry or whatever else you put in those type of insurance policies. Also, don't believe people when they tell you stuff about your gun. Don't believe your friends. Like, if the shit don't sound right, it probably isn't right. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to know a lot about everything. I'm not even saying that you should take everything we say as if we're professional, because we're not. We're giving you a lot of this is opinionated, except obviously the process, right? The gun process you have to go through, that's pretty much a fact. Everything else you're hearing from us are what we believe and what we think. So even when you hear us say things, you still need to do your own homework and double check and make sure you're getting the correct information for yourself, because you are the one that's going to be responsible for not knowing what's going on. You can't say, oh, Dub and Trey said, nah, the police not gonna want to hear that. They're gonna be like, nah, you the gun owner. You should have known this shit, right? So yeah, don't believe your friends. Find out for yourself.
That's right. And that's what we preach every episode. Every topic we talk about, we always say,
do your damn
research.
Yeah.
Yeah, do your research, man.
That's right. And then like join a gun group. Like there's gun groups out there you can join. One that I've been looking at joining for a while, I just never like went forward with it, is NAAGA, NAAGA, National African American Gun Association. I've been kind of following them for a minute, and there's other ones out there. Like join a gun club. They put together events where you go and shoot, and like you just get with some like-minded people who also enjoy guns, and they just, you can learn a lot from other people who are responsible with the gun, especially if you are a person who's new to it, but you want to learn more and find a lot of other people to learn from. A gun organization or a gun group would be a great place.
Yeah, Dub, that's some great information. I'm also a member of a gun club, a gun group. It's the Black Gun Initiative. You can find them on Facebook. It's about 2,000 members. It's a very good group, very informative. Once again, it's called the Black Gun Initiative, and you can find them on Facebook. Definitely reach out, check us out on there. But it's definitely something that you would have fun with. You'll definitely learn some safety, some ways you can protect yourself at all times and have fun at the same time. So,
and furthermore, there are some more things that I want to give you guys some tips on about gun ownership. And I don't know if these are more so tips about owning a gun, or I guess more so tips on how to think about guns versus maybe the way certain people want you to think about guns, right? So think about a gun as a tool. Yes, it's a weapon, but it's a tool. I know this is going to sound weird, but try not to associate gun violence with legal gun ownership and responsible gun owners. Yes, there's gun violence, just like there's knife violence. People get stabbed and killed all the time, but we're not talking about removing knives out of kitchens. So it's a fact that gun violence in America is probably the number one reason people get killed in this country. But a lot of those are due to illegal uses of that weapon, I believe, at least. Other thing I'll say is, when you get your gun, or if you get a gun, don't try to look for reasons to use it. Because sometimes, depending on the person, you get a gun and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got a gun. Now I'm ready to protect myself from whoever. And then you kind of want to look for shit to protect yourself from. When there's nothing going on, you become the dude who goes to the club to start a fight for any reason except with a gun. Now you're looking for reasons to shoot people or to protect yourself when you feel like you're in danger, and really you're not in danger. So don't self-manifest problems on yourself because now you own a gun and you want to use it or protect yourself in some way. I know that sounds crazy, but there are people who do that.
Right.
If you get your concealed carry permit where you can walk around with your gun in your hip or whatever, right? Don't show your gun as a means to scare people. If you get in an argument with somebody or you get in a discussion or dispute with somebody, like don't brandish your weapon at them. Like don't show them you have a gun to try to shut them up because they might have a gun.
Right.
They may be carrying as well, and now you've threatened their life by showing them a gun, and they might shoot your ass. Because that's a threat. When you talking to somebody and they show you their gun, that's a legitimate threat. And if that person is a gun owner, you've now heightened a conversation into possibly getting shot or having to shoot someone. Right? These are things you have to consider. Points. Yeah, these are things you have to consider about being a responsible gun owner. Don't walk around looking for reasons to show people that you're a gun owner and you got a gun on you, right? Don't be stupid.
And based on that, that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't have a gun. If you feel like you got to go around showing people what you have,
that's right,
and thinking that you're showing people what you're about, you probably don't need to have a weapon. Great point.
And for my black people out there, I just want to say that the right to bear arms is not a conservative belief. There's this stigma and this thing that we get told that gun ownership and the Second Amendment is a conservative belief or ideology. The Second Amendment is a right for everyone who is an American.
That's
It's
right.
not a conservative or a liberal thing. It's not a as much as it's politicized, it is your right to own a gun. It's not a old white conservative belief
Right.
to be a gun owner. It's your right as an
Right.
American to be a gun owner. So stop associating gun ownership with Republicans or conservatives. It's an American thing. You can be a liberal and be a gun owner and support the Second Amendment, right? It happens because it's your right, just like it's your right to vote.
Yeah, and that's what we got to stop just following the masses and going with what's cool and following what you think is that particular stereotype,
That's right.
if you will, because that's what it is. It's a stereotype. You have to make sure that you are free-minded and free-thinking. And if you agree with someone's views, you agree with them. And if you disagree, you disagree.
Mm-hmm.
But don't just go with the crowd. Don't
That's
just
right.
go with the in crowd, because again, you may find yourself in a situation where your characteristics and your beliefs will become compromised because somebody might put that to the test. So you should definitely make sure you stay honest with yourself first.
And I'm gonna give y'all something that I kind of sort of get flack for. Not really flack, but I'll explain it. So I'm all for gun control, right? I definitely think gun control needs to be increased because what we have now is not being effective in controlling the use of handguns illegally.
Illegally, right.
Illegally. So I definitely believe in gun control. I don't believe in banning guns completely. I don't believe in doing away with the Second Amendment. And this is why. We already have guns in this country illegally. So
Right.
for all you people who think that guns should be illegal and that the Second Amendment should go away, it's not going to stop the illegal guns from being in this country.
Right.
The,
It's not going to
the
stop.
people who have them illegally are still going to have them.
That's right.
If you ban the Second Amendment, you've now taken away the law-abiding citizens' right to own a gun and protect themselves from the criminals.
There you
So
go.
if I'm a criminal or my person who owns guns illegally to do bad with them, and there's a law that just said that the good folks can't own guns anymore, I have no fear in running in your house.
That's right.
None. Zero. I'm running in everybody's house with my illegal gun because I know you don't have one. And then
Yeah.
and what that does, it puts the good guy in a position of, damn, do I protect my family and illegally own a gun? Or do I not protect my
Mm-hmm.
family and just hopefully the people who don't mind breaking the law don't run up in my house one day knowing I don't have a weapon? Banning the Second Amendment is an awful idea.
I agree.
For all of you who think that's a solution, that's not a solution. And if you disagree,
Mm-hmm.
dubandtrey@gmail.com or hit us up
Let's
on
talk
Messenger
about
on
it.
Facebook or whatever you want to do. We can chop it up. And if I'm wrong, hit me with some
Let's talk
facts.
about it.
Right. Let's talk about it. I'm always willing to
Yeah.
learn. If I'm wrong, I call it out.
Yeah, we're here. We want people to learn, and we want to learn as well. You know what I mean? We're not experts on these things, and we're just giving you what we believe in. But what Dub is saying makes sense. And I tell you what, I can't pull up the data, but I can almost promise you that those folks who in those states who have gun laws where everyday citizens can access and carry guns on a regular basis, I can guarantee you that their burglary rates and the crime rates are very low. And that's because everyone has a gun. From the old lady on the end on the corner to the newlyweds on the other end of the block. Everybody got a gun. The criminal is not going on that street. So you have to understand that concept too. If you take away that right, it's gonna be open season. And of course we don't want that. Now there are mistakes that happen, there are things that happen. I'm sure people are gonna reach out to us and tell us about a lot of different things that may have happened because somebody that owned a gun, so to speak. But that goes back to what Dub talked about earlier, making sure safety precautions are being taken seriously and making sure you're enforcing those safety precautions every single day. It should never be a time where a child gets their hand on a weapon. I think when I was in school, somebody actually brought a gun to the school and shot the teacher. And when this happened, when they found out whose gun it was, I think the kid got the gun from his father. Safety precautions weren't taken. And, you know, it was a really sad situation. But if safety precautions were taken, those situations don't happen. I don't think it has anything to do with the Second Amendment.
I agree. And no adult besides you should be able to get to your gun. Not just children. No one but you.
Correct.
Period. No excuses. Not your boys, not your friends, not your girlfriend, not your boy. Like nobody should be able to get to your gun but you.
So definitely hit us up if you got any questions. And for those gun experts out there, I mean, we want to keep this going. I want to get into some of the cool things and some of the fun things now that we kind of handled the business of gun ownership. I definitely want to get into some of the handguns, some of the newer models that are out, some of the popular name brand guns that most of the handgun owners are buying, some of the rifles and the machine guns and some of the fun things that I like shooting when I go to the gun range. So definitely, if you have something cool, definitely send it to us. Let us know what you got out there. Show us, send us some pictures, or maybe we even have you on the show if you got a good arsenal of handguns, and this is all legally, people.
All legal.
So don't email me with your street sweeper that you done had for that you done had since you was 16.
Right. You got from your boy for $400, right?
Yeah. Man. We pro legal everything over here.
That's right.
So,
and this is another topic we're gonna keep going. Today was just about basic ownership. Later on in the year, sometime we're gonna talk about ammunition, different guns for home use. We're gonna talk about rifles. Excuse me. We're gonna talk about shotguns. We're gonna get into this whole gun thing way deeper in future episodes. On IG, hit us up at Dub and Trey. It's DUBAEANDTRE. Facebook, it's Dub and Trey Podcast. And if you want to send us an email, it's dubandtrey@gmail.com. Again, it's DUBANDTRE@gmail.com, man.
Yeah. Thanks again. We out.